Ribbon.
We've covered the T-Virus, G-Virus, and T-Veronica Virus, but now it's time to slither in a different direction, this time taking a closer look at the first introduction of a parasite in the series. First encountered in a little game called Resident Evil 4, it has wormed its way into a few characters and into other games in the series. So, from refusing to shower to heads that devour, here are 25 facts about Las Plagas. Unlike previous BOWs, the enemies throughout Resident Evil 4 are infected with a parasite instead of a virus. This is referred to as Las Plagas, which in Spanish simply translates to the pests, or alternatively, the plague, depending on the dialect. The Las Plagas parasite attaches itself to the organs, usually in between the heart and lungs, in order to be near the spine and access the central nervous system. From here, as they mature, they begin causing damage to the host, inducing symptoms like hemorrhaging, convulsing, hallucinations, and more. And apparently, it's very painful, as demonstrated by Leon. Once the parasite is born, it begins changing the host's DNA, which explains some of the things we see, like Ganados' increased physical strength or Leon's eyes turning red. Originally, in the village that Leon visits, there were children, but due to the stress that the parasites put on the body and organs, children can't survive the conversion and end up dying, which is why Leon never encounters any kids. The most extreme case of the Plaga showing itself is sometimes when the head of its host is severely damaged. In this situation, the parasite will emerge from the wound and directly attack as a last resort defense. There are three main types of Plagas variations, which you can see when they emerge from the heads. First is the guadaña, which is Spanish for scythe. This version sprouts as multiple tentacles, including one that wields a large, sharp, blade-like bone. Then there's the mandibula, which means mandible or jaw. These tend to come out more at night and are a lot more dangerous, being able to bite off victims' heads in one move. And lastly is the araña variant, which means spider. These are believed to be the final growth state of the Plaga and give it the ability to leave its host and survive on its own for an extended period of time. In the 2023 remake, they have the ability to latch onto nearby Ganados, which, when presented with two Plagas in one host, puts the Ganado in a berserker state, as illustrated in the first encounter. The Ganados seem to lose the need for personal hygiene. Throughout the game, you see maggot-covered food, dirty water, and more. Leon may also have felt the effects of this, which is why when examining a rotten hunk of meat, he says he could go for a big juicy steak. It could also explain why he was so excited to jump into a giant pile of garbage.
Looks like this is it.
Ugh, it stinks.
Sure does.
No way, Leon.
Way.
There are a lot of variations of the Ganados, but here are some unused concepts and early designs from the original game. A new aspect that was added in the Resident Evil 4 remake was the concept of a Master Plaga, which controls the lesser Plagas, which is how Sadler has power over so many. When Sadler is killed, the remaining Ganados on the island begin to convulse and aren't able to function. The Plaga samples were also retconned to be fossilized in amber, found by Sadler, who refers to it as the Holy Body. It's also hard to say if Sadler rose to power by using Las Plagas or if it was the other way around. Throughout the fourth game, the parasite takes a very long time to mature, long enough for Leon to cure both himself and Ashley, which allows him to stop Sadler. In Resident Evil 5, we are introduced to the Plaga Type 2, which were specifically genetically engineered to avoid this issue, where the parasite now matures very quickly, usually to the point that it requires victims to be force-fed a live parasite, which can now take over their body in mere seconds. We also see a stronger version dubbed Plagas Type 3, which is responsible for several of the strongest enemies you face in the 5th game, like the armored Duvalia or the giant Magini. It's also worth noting that the Type 3 parasite has a 0% adherence rate among women and children. The final strain we see is Type 4, featured in the Damnation CG movie, and even though it was a newer strain, it didn't differ too much from the previous versions, simply combining traits from zombies and Magini, but to minimal effect. Even Ada Wong dismisses it as a defective bioweapon, only to later learn that Svetlana sabotaged it. One of the more memorable and unique enemies infected by Las Plagas is El Gigante. While he gains massive size and strength, he severely loses intelligence and mental capacity and really illustrates the balance between strength and smarts required for the monsters to be effective. Salazar is one of the main villains behind the scenes managing the Plagas, which are considered a family curse for him. He actually has the main job of protecting the Queen Plaga, which was not only an extremely important organism, but also what was used to infect Ashley. After realizing Leon was a real threat, he sent his right hand after him, one of 2 special enemies known as Verdugos. Leon dispatches the right hand, but the left hand remains with Salazar. In a desperate attempt to stop Leon, he decides to merge himself and the last Verdugo with the Queen Plaga, which is where he turns into his monster form, only to be killed by Leon. At one point, Leon comes across a large nest of insect-like creatures called Novistadors. These are yet another creature resulting from Las Plagas, though these are a result of experiments that fused human DNA with various insects. They have some of the most unique abilities, including optic camouflage, razor-sharp claws, and the ability to spit acid, which can result in probably the most horrific death in Resident Evil 4. One of the most notoriously terrifying enemies in the game are the Regenerators. Created through a separate experiment, they are the result of implanting multiple Plagas parasites into a human body and causing rapid mutation. They were often kept in cryosleep to slow them down, but they were all able to eventually develop cold resistance in time. Depending on your difficulty level, you'll find between 2 and 5 parasites inside them. If you've played any Resident Evil game with Las Plagas parasites in them, then you probably know that a flash grenade is extremely effective against them, usually killing them instantly. The explanation behind this is that the parasites are extremely weak to UV rays and other strong light sources. Luis Serra was one of the head researchers in several experiments related to Las Plagas, including El Gigante and the Regenerators. He became genuinely fascinated with the parasite, to the point that even after knowing what Sadler's intentions were, he continued his research. But his guilt began to eat away at him, which is why he helps Leon and Ashley.
Why risk your life like this? You don't know us.
I told you. It makes me feel better.
Be straight with me for once.
Los Iluminados. I was working for them.
Check out my 25 facts about Luis video if you want to know more about him. In her usual fashion, Ada steals a sample of Las Plagas, double-crossing Leon once again. In the remake, there were a few changes, like the sample now being fossilized in amber, and Ada working alongside Luis. But the most interesting change, and slightly controversial among fans, is Ada defying Wesker and revealing that she refuses to let Wesker essentially commit genocide.
So, we're talking millions of casualties.
Billions.
How ambitious. We're changing course, now.
Leon and Ashley were both infected with the parasite, but near the end of the game, they are able to treat each other using a special machine designed to remove them from a host's body. It uses a special wavelength of radiation, but due to the fact that the parasite attaches to the host's central nervous system, it apparently causes excruciating pain while the procedure is performed, and there's no type of anesthesia that's effective. The last we see of Las Plagas was in Vendetta, where some of the genes from it are combined with the T-Virus to create a strain of the A-Virus, giving zombies increased strength, enhanced coordination, and even the ability to speak. Will we ever see Las Plagas make a return? I guess we will have to wait and see. I'm excited to continue covering the main viruses behind our favorite franchise, with Ouroboros and the C virus still to come, so stay tuned for those. As usual, if you learned anything new, then be sure to chomp that like button the way a mandibula chomps off Leon's head, and be sure to subscribe for more Resident Evil content just like this. Remember to drink water, and until next time, I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon.